Morning peeps, how are we all doing? Good, I hope. So I'm going out for a little bimble. Probably going to be a bit longer than I've done in the past, mainly because I'm starting to get strength back, starting to get myself back, to be honest, which is a good sign. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to follow on from Keith's video, which I watched this morning about war. Now, one of the things about war is unless you've been involved in it, you really don't understand. But if you look at, like he said, the Great War, the war to end all wars. Well, that never happened, did it? Because look at this, look at the state we're in now. So we went from there, we went from the First World War, obviously the Second World War, again against a common enemy, the Germans, but in this case it was Nazism with Hitler. So after the Second World War, what happened then? We had various other little things going on around the world. We had Korea, we had Aden, we had Dhofar, we had various little conflicts which a lot of people don't know about. And that's purely because it's not taught in schools anymore, is it? We don't talk about it, unless you know anyone who's a Korean veteran or anything like that. We had Malaya, counterinsurgencies in the Malaya. Then we had a little bit of a lull, only a little bit, and then it kicked off with Northern Ireland. Now, a lot of people say Northern Ireland wasn't a war, unless you know people that lost their lives during Northern Ireland. You really don't know what you're talking about. It was a war. Even to the point that if you were an American soldier and you flew over Northern Ireland, you actually got a medal because you'd flown over a war zone. And what really annoys me is there's a lot of the Americans that actually sort of propagated the Northern Ireland problem with the fact that their ancestors were Irish. I'm an Irish American. My mum's from St Helena. I don't go around saying I'm a St Helenian British person. I'm an Englishman, end of. That's where I was born. So we lost people during Northern Ireland. Quite a few actually. And again, it was not only military that were getting lost, civilian lives were being affected. You had the bombings that were happening. The IRA were totally indiscriminate, even to the point, and a lot of you probably don't even know this, they were laying pipe bombs outside schools. Let's have a go at the kids, shall we? Let's go and destroy some innocent kids' lives. And yet they were people say they were freedom fighters. One thing, and this is very controversial, old Nelson Mandela. Everyone goes on about what a hero Nelson Mandela was. Do your history. You'll find that Nelson Mandela was a terrorist. He used to bomb supermarkets. He used to bomb innocent civilian people. What is it about the human race? Unbelievable, isn't it? So we then went from Northern Ireland. Next one that really kicked off was the Falklands. Now the Falklands was all down to the fact of the Argentinians overran the Royal Marines detachment that was down there. And Maggie Thatcher decided, I'm not having that. I'm going to send the boys down there to retake the islands. Now, if you speak to any Falkland Islanders, they'll tell you how proud they are to be British. In fact, I think you'll find a lot of the guys down there are actually British. I know there's quite a few ex-police force that live and work down in the Falklands. So, 82, the guys went down there, defeated the Argentinian army. They were a conscript army, and We were very close, from what I understand, very close to losing that. Yeah, if it had gone on for another day or two, due to the fact of the sinking of the Atlantic conveyor, a lot of the equipment and ammunition was actually at the bottom of the South Atlantic Ocean. But the Royal Marines, the Paras and everyone else, let's not forget, yeah, everyone was involved. There was all sorts of corps and everything like that were involved in this. Yeah, it was the Paras and the Marines that did the majority of the fighting, and some of the Guards regiments were involved as well as infantry. Yeah. So we took over the Falklands again. Again, we had a little bit of a break. Well, Northern Ireland was still going on. Yeah, but the next thing that comes up was the first Gulf War. Yeah, Op Granby as it was called. Yeah, by the British. The Americans called it Desert Storm. And unfortunately, I was actually involved in the first Gulf War. Yes, the war lasted 100 hours. From us going through the breach to the time that the ceasefire was called, yeah, it was 100 hours. But prior to that was all of the bombing raids, yeah, by the aircraft and the artillery, which again, and I've got leaflets. The British government will deny the fact that they ever did it, but I've got leaflets which show that we were asking the Iraqi soldiers to surrender. That was dropped on them. Like I say, we went through 100 hours. The build up to the Gulf War was quite amazing. As most people all know, Saddam, or it was thought that Saddam was going to use biological and chemical weapons against us. And that's why we ended up being injected with all sorts of stuff. We had our NAPS tablets and everything like that for our NBC days. NIAID, which was a totally useless system, was supposed to tell us if we'd been attacked with any nerve agent, and was constantly going off on its own, yeah, without any agent being around. But like I say, first Gulf War, I've got to admit, when I saw the Iraqi POWs, I felt so sorry for them. Yeah, Saddam had sent them in there thinking it was going to be a closed deal. You know, no one had ever popped him. And they were young conscripts, untrained, against the British and the Americans and the coalition forces. And as you all know, we had Middle Eastern units involved as well in the liberation of Kuwait. Even they were discussing the way that Saddam had decided that he was going to annex Kuwait purely because he'd spent years in the Iran-Iraq war, yeah, and his economy was in a collapse. So he thought he'd take the oil in Kuwait. We came back from the Gulf War. Again, not much of a respite really, but then one of the biggest sort of incidents in Europe was the Balkans, Bosnia, yeah, whereby we ended up with communism. You know, the Berlin Wall had come down, communism was in decline, and as I always say to people, everyone goes on about how bad communism was, but until it collapsed in places like Yugoslavia, yeah, people lived fairly harmoniously. But once communism collapsed and they were given democracy, and is that the right thing to do to some people? I know from Rhodesia, Zimbabwe, yeah, definitely not the right thing to have done. So we gave them democracy, and what they ended up doing, they ended up turning on one another. And in Bosnia it was three factions: Bosnian Serbs, Bosnian Croats and the Bosnian Muslims. And as Keith said, we did lose guys out there. Majority of it was down to traffic accidents, and if any of you have served that in Bosnia, you will know Route Triangle and how treacherous it was. Yeah, we had vehicles going off the side of the road down cliffs and losing guys that way. So Bosnia, then we went on to Kosovo. Yeah, again, another situation whereby someone wanted something that the other person had. And that seems to be the dominant thing within the human race, isn't it? If I've got something, someone else wants it. Do you know what? For me, if someone else has got something more than I have, I couldn't give a monkey's. Yeah, ironically, I worked down at Wentworth, which is a very affluent town down in Surrey. And people down there, the houses around there, probably cost more than I would earn in my lifetime. Yeah, but I had a young girl that I used to work with. She was one of the school board holders, and I never knew anything about Karen's lifestyle until another woman came along, joined us, and was just banging on about the fact that she had 2 houses on the estate. One was worth 2 million, the other one was worth 2.5 million. But oh, you should see the house that Karen lives in. Yeah, that is worth a lot more. And Karen was embarrassed. Totally embarrassed. So the following day I went out to go and do my golf work again, and I got teamed up with Karen again, and she just kept apologising to me. And I said to her, Karen, you got 2 million quid, I've got tuppence, I couldn't give a monkey's. Yeah, we just get on well together. We've worked together for about 5 years by this time. Yeah, but it seems to be that if someone's got something, someone else wants it. Yeah, even to the point like you have with your burglars, you know, they don't want to work the same as the rest of us, they want to steal it. But like I say, with war, yeah, unless you've been involved in it, you can't really describe it. It's some of the most terrifying times of your life. Yeah, being shot at. You don't really want to be shot at. It's like Keith was saying earlier about, I joined up roughly the same time as him, 1977. 17-year-old, I'd always wanted to be in the army. I've been an army cadet before that, yeah. But I wasn't thinking about the fact of going out to war or anything like that. Yeah, for me, it was a career path. Yeah, it was something that I wanted to do. The old adverts in the 1970s, join the army and see the world. That was what it was all about. So obviously, after Bosnia, Kosovo, yeah, we had a little bit of a respite, and then suddenly it was a case of 9/11, the Twin Towers. Now, what is ironic about 9/11 was old Osama bin Laden, yeah, who instigated it all. Bear with me a sec. He'd actually been supported not only by the American government, but by the British government. Yeah, during the time that Russia went in and invaded Afghanistan back in the 80s. Yeah, and well, that didn't work for us, did it? Yeah, as soon as he's got his idealism up, he turns on the Americans and creates the atrocity that was 9/11. And old George W. Bush decides, I ain't having none of that. Yeah, I'm going to go after him. So we end up invading Afghanistan. But prior to that, we had the Iraq War, whereby under the lies of the fact that Saddam had weapons of mass destruction, yeah, our politicians get together with the Americans and we go and invade Iraq. So in one sense, you know, I suppose human race is a warmongering race. You know, if you look back through history, we've done nothing but fight wars, have we? So, of course, we lost people out in Iraq, we lost people in Afghanistan. Yeah, and as many of you would have seen when he's come back through Rawwood and Bassett with the coffins draped. Yeah, quite a traumatic time. But again, we're looking at civilians that are being affected, not only the families of the soldiers, yeah, that have been caught up in war, but also everyone else. We've got this issue at the moment with Israel and Hamas in Gaza, yeah, and again, innocent civilian people are being killed because of war. Yeah. One day we may get away from it. Not in my lifetime, I can't see it happening, I'll be honest with you. But maybe one day people will realise, why can't we just live together? Someone once asked me, do I believe in aliens? And I said to him, no. It's not a case of I don't believe in aliens. What I do believe is if they are up there, they look down on this planet and they go, sod that. Those lot can't even get on with each other. What's going to happen if we turn up there? It's a sad state. The situation in Ukraine is just escalating more and more. And now that old Biden, what a parting gesture he's done as the President of the United States. Yeah, has authorised the use of American missiles to fire into Russia. Well, that's really gonna please old Vlad, innit? Old Putin. Yeah, the fact that he's now got the Americans supplying missiles to Ukraine to actually fire into Russia itself. World War III, in my eyes, isn't too far away. Yeah, the only way I can ever see that war finishing is for everyone else to stop supplying, yeah, to the point that they've got no choice but to get around the table and discuss it. But that'll never happen. Yeah, it's just the way it is. Problem is, there's a lot of money in armaments and war. Yeah, a lot of money that can be made. Yeah, and unfortunately, because we're a greedy breed, aren't we? Yeah, it's just going to go on and on. So like we say, you know, we've got this going on in Europe at the moment with Ukraine and Russia. Sad state of affairs. So, one of the other things I want to talk about is this business about Keith wandering around with his beret on. And it makes me laugh, it really does make me laugh, because the people that are banging on about it are probably the people that don't get off their backside and do the sort of thing that Keith and Trace Around do for charities. And if wearing his beret is going to help in some way, yeah, to raise the profile of charities such as Help for Heroes, Scottish Little Soldiers and so on, then I can't see what the issue is. He's not walking around permanently with it stuck to his head. I know there's some veterans turn around and say, yeah, but that was your past life. Yeah, well, we can say that about anything, can't we? Yeah. Should I have this Bergen on? It's MTP. Okay, the one that I had when I was serving was DPM. But the reason I carry this Bergen is, one, it's good quality. Yeah, as many of you know, I attempted the coast to coast walk back in August this year, and one of the problems that happened was the civilian Bergen that I purchased to stay lightweight and make life easy for myself fell apart. Yeah, whereas Bergens such as this, yeah, good quality, robust, they've got to be for squaddies. That's why we use them. But Keith and Tracy have done wonderful work for various charities, yeah. And those people that are banging on about the fact of him wearing his beret, like Keith says, he doesn't walk around with it all the time. It's in his pocket, and whenever he's going to do a video for his channel, he sticks his barnet on, you know. So I can't see what the issue is. But it's opinions, isn't it? You're not allowed your own opinion. You're not allowed to say anything. You're not allowed to do anything. It's like Keith was saying about Sergeant Majors. Sergeant Majors of our day, yeah, will probably get locked up nowadays, yeah, because of the fact that that's the way that we used to deal with things. When the Sergeant Major shouted, you did what you were told. But now it's a case of, oh, well, you can't do that in case you frighten little Johnny. And I know when I was at the depot in Arborfield, I had a recruit that it wasn't an issue with him, to be honest. Anyway, it wasn't an issue with him. It was an issue because he'd spoken to his mum, and he said to her about he'd been out for a bee sting. Now, as most of us know in the army, yeah, a bee sting is going for a run. But his mum, because she didn't know the terminology, then reported it to our local councillor, who then reported it back to the depot.